Um, Good morning. As part of coverage of our recent advances in surgery, which is very important for your theory exam, we have series of lectures from recent advances in surgery. Today, I will speak on management of thyroid nodule. Let me share my screen. Thyroid nodule is a very common clinical problem, and American Thyroid Association defined a thyroid nodule as a distinct lesion which is seen clinically, palpable, and is radiologically distinct. And if you go to the prevalence of thyroid nodule, is very common. On routine palpation of thyroid gland is the incidence about 2 to 6%. A routine ultrasound may reveal thyroid nodule in 19 to 35% of patients. And in routine autopsy, there is the incidence may be as high as 65%. These nodules are more common in women. So what are the concerns in a thyroid nodule? The main concern thyroid nodule is three aspects. Whether this nodule is hyperfunctioning, or there is normal functioning thyroid gland, or there is hyperfunctioning of the thyroid gland itself. Whether this nodule is causing any pressure symptoms, and whether this nodule is malignant or not. So as a rough estimate is about 4 to 6.5% of all thyroid nodules are malignant. If you find a nodule in a young patient like children, the risk of malignancy is higher. What is incidental thyroid nodules? These are nodules which are not presented to the clinician as a symptomatic thyroid nodule. These are diagnosed increasing frequency. Some patient can come up and say that he just noticed a swelling detected by the patient without any other symptoms. Or physician in course of a routine examination can find a nodule in thyroid gland. And patient undergoing imaging procedure for other reasons may have revealed a nodule in the thyroid gland. So once a incidental thyroid nodule is seen, one should follow evidence-based approach for assessment of the nodule and management. Newer molecular test has given an age for assessment of these nodules to assess whether these are malignant or not. So the clinical importance of the thyroid nodules are the main concern is malignancy, and this malignancy will depend on the age, sex, any radiation exposure in the past, family history, and other factors. The differential thyroid cancer includes papillary and follicular cancer, and in most of the patient of thyroid cancer, it's a different thyroid cancer, more than 90%. So what are the important causes of thyroid nodules? If you consider the benign lesions in thyroid gland causing nodule, it will be most common is a colloid nodule. It can be a Hashimoto's thyroiditis producing a simple or hemorrhagic cyst. It can be a follicular adenoma or maybe subacute thyroiditis. The malignant nodules in thyroid gland include papillary cancer, follicular cancer, Hurdle cell or oncocytic cancer. It can be anaplastic cancer or medullary thyroid carcinomas, thyroid lymphomas. And thyroid is also an important site for metastasis from primary lesions, particularly from kidneys, lungs, and head and neck. So once the patient presents with a thyroid nodule, be it a symptomatic or incidental nodule, that needs a thorough assessment. And popularly this goes by a quadruple assessment. Quadruple assessment in thyroid nodule assessment includes a detailed history and physical examination, some laboratory tests, thyroid imaging, and a fine detailed cytology. So in the quadruple assessment, now a new is added, that is the molecular test for assessment of thyroid nodule. So history and physical examination should include assess the symptoms, whether the patient has got any symptoms of hypo or hyperthyroidism, assess whether the patient has got any local pressure symptoms in the form of difficulty in swallowing or difficulty in breathing, cough, and alteration of voice, and whether patient has got any symptom which will suggest is a malignant nodule. That means there may be rapid increase or there may be pressure symptoms and underlying compression. In physical examination, one need to assess the volume and consider the needle, because the size of the nodule is an important marker for assessing the risk or malignancy. And assess the number of nodules, is single solitary nodule or multinuclear goiter, and its consistency. In addition to the thyroid nodule, try to assess whether there is associated cervical lymphadenopathy, which will be another pointer to a diagnosis of a malignant lesion, and examine for signs of hypo or hyperthyroidism. So, when do you suspect malignancy in a nodule presenting in the thyroid gland? Extremes of age, younger patient less than 20 years or more than 70 years, more likely it's a malignant lesion. History of radiation of in the childhood or head neck radiation for other diseases. Total body radiation for bone marrow transplantation. Exposure to ionizing radiation because of fallout in childhood or in adolescence. If the patient has family history of papillary or medullary thyroid cancers, and there are some thyroid cancer syndrome like Cowden syndrome, familial polyposis, MEN2, where the suspicion of malignancy will be higher. And the suspicious nodules are like a nodule which are enlarging. There is rapid growth of the nodule. Size is more than 4 centimeter. The nodule is hard in consistency and is fixed to the surrounding tissues. And there is evidence of local invasion of the nodule to the surrounding structures like trachea and esophagus and the posterior neck structures. So once you have gone through the clinical examination, the next is to go for some laboratory test. The most important laboratory is serum TSH. A low TSH level indicates hyperfunctioning thyroid gland. And once you find a patient has got a low TSH in circulation, then the next investigation of choice should be a radiocarbon scan to assess the functional status of the nodule or of the whole of the gland. Then serum calcitonin is not routine for all nodular assessment. However, this can be an important marker in suspected patient of medullary thyroid carcinoma or patient having C-cell hyperplasia. However, false positive calcitonin may be seen in some features like hypercalcemia, hypergastrinemia, other neuroendocrine tumors, and some cases of follicular or papillary carcinomas. False negative calcitonin assay may be there where there are some non-secreting medullary thyroid carcinomas. Serum thyroglobulin is also not a recommendation for routine measurement, but patient having suspicion of malignancy, we can do a baseline thyroglobulin assay. However, thyroglobulin is not a specific or sensitive marker for diagnosis of thyroid cancer. Patient having autoimmune thyroiditis, one should go for routine assessment of serum TP antibodies. So these are not routine assessment, but these are to be done in selected cases of nodular assessment. Then, as I said, if the patient has got a low serum TSH suggesting overt or subclinical hyperthyroidism, the next investigation choice should be thyroid scintigraphy. This can be done either by a I-131 or I-123 or 99M technetium. And based on the scintigraphy, we can classify the nodule as a hot nodule, a warm nodule, or cold nodule. And as the definition goes, a hot nodule means there is increased uptake of the radioactivity in this nodule. Warm nodule means this nodule takes up the radioactivity same as the rest of the gland. And cold nodule is one where the gland takes up the radioactivity, but the area of the nodule is not taking the radioactivity. It's a cold nodule. Some autonomous nodules, that means the nodules which are hyperfunctioning, or some independent nodules account for 5 to 10% of palpable nodules. However, hyperfunctioning nodules are mostly benign. So a routine FNA is not required in hyperfunctioning nodule unless there is other suspicion features. So these are the scintigraphic features. You see, in a malignant nodule, the classic finding is these are hot in technetium. On the left side is a technetium uptake where you find a hot nodule, but the same patient on I-131 scan, the area appears cold. So these are very suspicious for a malignant nodule. And if you do a scintigraphy, you'll find there is a diffuse increased uptake in the thyroid gland. This suggests a Graves' disease or diffuse toxic goiter. Or on the right side, you find there is an area where there is increased uptake in the nodule. This is a typical autonomous toxic nodule. And if you see that in the left side picture, the thyroid gland is taking up the reactivity in a normal fashion, but there is an area of no uptake, suggesting that to be a cold nodule. And on the right side is the area where it is a toxic nodule. The most important assessment for thyroid is by ultrasonography. And this ultrasonography can give us a detailed idea about the size, shape, location, echogenicity, margins, calcification, and vascularity of the thyroid nodule. In addition to this, it can help us to assess the cervical lymph nodes, which is another important point in favor of diagnosis of malignancy. And this ultrasound features, which will suggest malignancy, there are some high risk features like is it taller than white, is hypoechogenic, there are irregular margins, and microcalcification and perineal solid. So these 5 are the important high risk features which will suggest malignancy. So current guidelines suggest the 3-tier risk classification. It can be based on ultrasound. You can say this patient has got a low risk, intermediate risk, and high risk thyroid lesions. So this stratification is important because in low risk patient can be observed without surgery. In high risk thyroid lesion, the patient who are candidate for surgery and do a definitive biopsy. The problem lies with the intermediate risk group. Previously, a lot of this intermediate risk group patient used to undergo surgery because of intermediate lesion, but it is found that more than 80% of such lesions turned out to be benign. So more of the patient who are undergoing surgery where there is minimal incidence of malignancy. So if you see an ultrasonography, you see the complex cyst. If you find a nodule which is having both solid and cyst component, these are highly suspicious of this malignant nodule. In the nodule, you find this irregular shaped nodule, and there are areas of microcalcification. They are more suspicious of malignant nodule. If you apply a color Doppler in this, you can find increased vascularity in the nodule, which is another important point in favor of malignant nodule. And in some nodules, you can find that there is excessive vascularity. These are more suggestive of toxic nodule or hyperfunctioning nodule. In addition to the thyroid gland, another important part to be assessed in the neck is a cervical lymph node. And one has to assess the central and the lateral compartment nodes in thyroid malignancy. And there are some important features of a metastatic node. A normal node is kidney-shaped or reniform. The shape changes to round or oval. There may be specks of microcalcification in the node. The node may become cystic. There may be peripheral vascularity in the node, and it may be hyperechogenic. And it's classically said that the central halo in the node is lost. The peripheral halo may also be lost in a metastatic node. Once you have these high risk features of lymph node, they are the patient who should undergo FNA, and that may preferably be an ultrasound guided FNA. Patient having nodules which are less than 1 centimeter with these suspicious features also need an FNA. If the nodules are PET positive, the risk of malignancy is higher, 40 to 45%, and FNA is recommended in all nodules more than 1 centimeter. These are the metastatic node. You can see that there is some hypoechogenicity. The peripheral halo is lost, and the node become oval instead of a reniform shaped nodule. You see, this is hypervascular lymph node, which will suggest is likely to be a malignant deposit from the node. So once you have this ultrasound assessment, there is a system for reporting thyroid ultrasonography that is known as TIRAD, Thyroid Imaging Reporting and Data System, that indicates if it's a TIRAD 1 is inconclusive, needs further imaging. TIRAD 2 is a benign nodule. Thyroid 3 is no suspicious features. There is 0% risk of malignancy. We have mentioned about 5 high risk features in ultrasound which will suggest malignancy. So thyroid 4 is when there is one suspicious features, there is 4 to 5% risk of malignancy. Thyroid 4B is 2 suspicious features, the risk of malignancy is as high as 12.5%, and thyroid 4C is 3 or 4 suspicious features of malignancy, risk is as high as 62%. And thyroid 5 is a 5 suspicious features are present and there is 100% risk of malignancy. A newer addition to assessment of thyroid is thyroid elastography. A clinically palpable hard nodule is suspicious. So one may assess the nodule is hard and there is inter-observer variation. But this assessment of consistency can be done by objectively by using elastography. We can do elastography by using a strain elastography. The tissue elasticity is assessed by compression with a probe, or it can be a strain elastography. This displacement is greater in soft than in stiff tissues. So the shear wave elastography, focused acoustic impulse from the transducer, is received as a reflection of shear wave elastography, and this assess tissue elasticity by measuring the propagational speed of transverse shear waves. So these are the elastographic evidence of whether the underlying nodule may be malignant or not. Malignant nodules are harder in consistency as assessed by elastography, and elastography relies on degree of tissue stiffness. Malignant nodules are less elastic than benign nodules because of rapid proliferation of the cells. And elasticity index is expressed as meter per second. Estimated tissue stiffness is expressed as kilopascals. That can be assessed in the ultrasound and elastography combination. So combination ultrasound elastography is diagnostic for malignant nodule. Sensitivity is as high as 97% and negative predictability is as high as 97%. So these are the different elastographic features. You see on the left side is the clean ultrasound pictures and the right side is the illustrated pictures where it can assess the tissue stiffness and the shear wave compression. These are the illustrated pictures. CT scan is not a routine assessment for thyroid nodule. Ultrasound is the most important imaging for thyroid nodule, but in selected cases, like in advanced thyroid malignancy when there is local invasion, or if you have a intrathoracic goiter, that needs assessment by a CT scan, because ultrasound is not a very sensitive way for assessing intrathoracic goiter. And CT scan also picks up central node assessment, because once you have a central node enlargement, that sometimes may be obscured by the thyroid gland enlargement. So this is a classic case of a goiter. In a plain X-ray, you find there is widening of the mediastinal shadow, and CT revealed that there is an enlargement thyroid gland which is going to have a intrathoracic extension. So CT is advisable for advanced malignancy and patient may be intrathoracic goiter. So next important is to assess the thyroid gland by doing a FNA, and nodules less than 1 centimeter, FNA is not required with some exceptions. That means some patient having some suspicious features of malignancy. In that case, one should go for FNA, and nodule less than 1 centimeter is difficult to have FNA without US guidance. In that case, one should go for US guidance FNA. Nodules more than 1 centimeter should undergo FNA with some exceptions. Patient having a FNA biopsy for more than 1 centimeter nodules, the high suspicion features, we have already mentioned that these are hypoechoic nodules, irregular margins, microcystis taller than wide, and pituitary solid. So if you have these suspicious features of malignancy, which can be either 1, 2, or all 5, patient should undergo a FNA and preferably a image guided FNA. And there is a system for reporting this FNA report, and these are governed by Bethesda system. Bethesda 1 is non-diagnostic or unsubjective aspirate. Bethesda 2 is a benign. Bethesda 3 is atypia of undetermined significance, follicular lesions of undetermined significance. Bethesda 4 is follicular neoplasm or solitary or suspicion of follicular neoplasm. Bethesda 5 is suspicion of malignancy, and Bethesda 6 is malignant nodules. The most important area is Bethesda 3 and 4, where you have a situation of atypia, which cannot be specified, and follicular neoplasm, which cannot be specified. These are the group of patients who are also called as indeterminate lesions, where for a complete diagnosis, previously more and more of this group of patients were subject to surgery. But with advent of molecular testing, this FNA aspirate can be used for molecular testing. And molecular testing has made a new breakthrough in management. So if you go by this Bethesda system, you can classify this into a benign follicular lesion of atypia or undefined significance, follicular neoplasm. It can be malignant nodule. Apart from this Bethesda system, there are other system of classifying the pathological report. It may be a UK Royal College of Pathology or Italian AIM. Accuracy of the results is influenced by the skill of the operator, FNA technique, and the specimen preparation. So these FNA results are also categorized as either diagnostic, satisfactory, non-diagnostic, and unsatisfactory. So FNA results are very important. They are crucial in guiding the further steps in the management of thyroid nodule. As I said, if it's a benign nodule, the current guideline is to wait and watch, not doing an intervention. If it is a suspicious malignant nodule, the standard of care is doing surgery and definitive biopsy. The indeterminate lesions previously are subjected more to surgical treatment. Now, these are routine for the patient to undergo molecular test. So, these are the situations that indeterminate patient, 10 to 15% of all FNAs are indeterminate. That includes follicular lesion of undetermined significance, atypia of undetermined significance, and follicular neoplasm. So molecular test is a breakthrough for taking decision for the surgical treatment. So sometimes it may be non-diagnostic. Non-diagnostic uncertainty smears may be because of inadequate number of cells to make a diagnosis. They are cystic fluid without cells. They are bloody smears, and there is some technical failure in preparation of the smear. So what are the recommendations based on the FNA and US features? So nodules more than or equal to 1 centimeter with intermediate high suspicion ultrasound pattern. Nodules more than 1.5 centimeter with low suspicion US pattern. Nodules more than 2 centimeter with very low suspicion US pattern. And for nodules that do not meet the above criteria, these are the situations where one should think of considering surgical treatment for this nodule and definitive biopsy. FNA is not required, including nodules less than 1 centimeter with some exceptions, and purely cystic nodules. So what are the molecular markers? As a large group of patients, about 10 to 15% patients have the indeterminate lesions, more and more of these patients are undergoing surgery, but it is found that 80% of these patients are having a benign nodule where surgery would have been avoided. So patient having indeterminate cytological diagnosis, this molecular testing assists us for decision making about management options. The molecular tests which have the most available data are Afirma gene expression classifier, 7-gene panel of genetic mutations and rearrangements, and galectin-3 immunohistochemistry. So these are the 3 important genetic markers we test in the FNA specimen. So this Afirma gene expression classifier, this includes this gene expression study of 167 genes. These genes are suggestive, if they are positive, they are suggestive more of a benign gene expression profile. They have got a high sensitivity, high negative predictive value, and low positive predictive value. These are used as a rule of test to identify benign nodules. A benign GEC results predicts low risk of malignancy, but still have 5% risk of malignancy. So you have to take into account other risk factors from ultrasound. This 7 gene mutation and reanalysis, they are BRAF mutation, NRAS, HRAS, KRAS, and common rearrangement of RATE and PTC and PX8 and PPRI. These are used as a rule-out test for malignancy. So if these are positive, they are more in favor of a positive malignant nodule. They've got a high specificity of 80-100%, positive predictive 80-100%, but poor sensitivity of 44 to 100%. These tests are expensive, and this field is new and evolving and not available in all the centers. So in the current setting, molecular testing is used only to supplement cytopathology evaluation or clinical and imaging assessment. Patients should be counseled regarding the current utility and limitation of these tests. So the current guidelines recommend neither for or against their use in clinical practice. So one can consider doing the molecular test and then take a decision, or you can avoid doing this test and go for surgical treatment as was done earlier. So how to manage this thyroid nodule? Once you have done an assessment, you've done a quadruple assessment in a molecular test, the management will depend on serum TSH, whether this is a hypo, hyper, or euthyroid, clinical risk factor assessment, size of the nodule, ultrasound characteristics, patient preferences. Results of FNA biopsy is the most crucial decision. And if you have the molecular testing, this is another momentum in our hand now to plan management of thyroid nodule. So these are the important factors which one should take into account for deciding treatment for thyroid nodule. So this is serum TSH, clinical risk factor assessment, size of the nodule, ultrasound characteristic, patient preference, and the FNA report. So how to treat patient having a autonomous or hyperfunctioning nodules? This patient has all features of hyperthyroidism. So management of this hyperfunctioning nodules will be either by radionuclide iodine therapy or surgery. Patient having overt features of hyperthyroidism. Patient having subclinical hyperthyroidism with low TSH but normal FT4. So management depends on clinical risk complication. Patient having a cardiac abnormal like atrial fibrillation. Patient having osteoporosis. So that depends on the degree of TSH suppression one should consider for surgical treatment in these patients. Patient having a nodule which is less than 1 centimeter and borderline symptoms, they may be kept for close follow-up. They should not be biopsied. As I said, patients which are hyperfunctioning nodule, these are likely to be benign, so FNA is not required. And frequency of and duration of follow-up will depend on the additional risk factor present. For nodule selected for FNA, management primarily depends on cytologic results according to Beth-Swedek's classification system. So if it is a benign, observe, indeterminate lesion, you can wait and watch, you can consider surgical treatment or go for molecular test. So each category will have a different management based on the FNA report. Patient having a nodule with benign cytology, ultrasound features of benign, and FNA report is clearly benign. The incidence is about 0 to 3%. So the standard of care for this group of patients are conservative treatment without surgery. And further diagnostics are not required if you have all the features of benign nodules. And frequency and duration of follow-up will be variable depending on the risk factors. Any sudden enlargement in this benign nodule does not usually suggest malignancy. They are more in favor of a hemorrhage or cystic degeneration in this nodule. Even for larger nodules with 3 or 4 centimeter, with all characteristic features of nodules being benign on ultrasound and FNA, the strategy remains the same. That means you can keep on watching the patient and do a close follow-up. So what are the ATA guidelines for follow-up of these benign nodules? So nodules with high suspicious US pattern repeat US and FNA within 12 months. That means there are some suspicious features on nodule, but FNA was benign. In that case, one should repeat US and FNA within 12 months. Those with low to intermediate suspicious US pattern, they should have repeat US and FNA in 12 to 24 months. Nodules with very low suspicious pattern should have US repeated at 24 months or more. So the repeat FNA and US repetition should be based on the suspicious features. And the other current guideline by ATA. So to decide whether you should go for a FNA and repeat OS will be based on if there is more than 20% growth in at least two nodule dimensions or 50% increase in nodule volume or the appearance of new suspicious US pattern. So in these cases, you should consider doing a repeat US and FNA, or you can continue the surveillance if it is a benign nodule. What is the indication for considering surgery in benign nodules if this is causing pressure symptoms or any structural symptoms? TSH suppressive therapy has no role for treatment of benign nodules. Some benign nodule has been treated by Parkinson's ethanol ablation. So this can cause regression of some benign thyroid nodules by Parkinson's ethanol injection. So what is the strategy for indeterminate nodules, which includes follicular lesion of unknown significance, atopia of unknown significance, follicular neoplasm, or sarcopenia? These are the four groups of patient where you place this patient as indeterminate lesions. So the risk of malignancy is variable. In this first two groups, risk is 5 to 15%. In follicular neoplasm and this, the risk is as high as 15 to 30%. So they are the group of patients where you need a balanced judgment. The idea is not to miss a malignant nodule. So this decision will depend on number of other features like US characteristics. You can add a elastography. Patient preference. Some patient may have anxiety because of the nodules and it being indeterminate. So patient preference has to be given into consideration. And the availability and feasible molecular test has impacted the management of this category of thyroid nodules. So if you have a molecular test which are in favor of benign etiology, you can keep on observing. If in favor of malignant etiology, you can go for surgical treatment. And some score has been devised, which score can lead you to decide for the surgical intervention. So if you have a positive report in molecular testing, one should consider surgical treatment in this patient. So what do you do in this? In follicular lesion of unknown significance, lesions with focal architecture or nuclear atypia, significance cannot be further determined and specimens that are limited because of poor fission obscuring blood. In these cases, it is wise to have a second review by an experienced cytopathologist in a high volume center because this interpretation may be variable based on the pathologist's experience. So in these patients, a repeat FNA may be considered or a molecular testing may be advisable for further assessment. If you have done a repeat FNA is not again conclusive, you can decide based on the clinical and US risk factors and patient preference. So strategy in this group may be either a surveillance with repeat US or diagnostic surgery can be chosen. Diagnostic surgery means you do a lobectomy. And if the biopsy is benign, you don't treat the remaining part of the gland. And if the biopsy report is showing a malignancy, you can consider doing a completion thyroidectomy. So most of the patient comes with the report of follicular neoplasm because FNAC, you cannot decide about the follicular carcinoma and follicular adenomas. And surgical excision for this group of patient was the standard practice. But with advent of molecular testing, they may supplement the malignancy risk assessment. So taking into consideration the clinical and ultrasound risk factors and the patient preference. If the molecular test is not available, has been performed and inconclusive, in those cases, surgical treatment is to be considered. If histology is benign follicular adenoma, absence of capsular vascular invasion, and molecular test is suggested benign, you can keep on observing the patient. If on surgery you have this lesion coming out as follicular carcinoma, one should consider a completion thyroidectomy. So if it is a adenoma, you need not go for further treatment. If it's a malignancy, you should go for completion thyroidectomy. So lesion which is suspicious of malignancy, that means you have more presence of high risk features. So these are the category which includes strongly suspicious features of malignancy, but lacking the diagnostic criteria of malignancy. So these are considered as cytology suspicious malignancy. So in these cases, the standard recommendation is diagnostic surgery. That means you do a lobectomy and subject for history examination. And you can consider this patient also for molecular testing. And the molecular testing can help you to decide about doing a total thyroidectomy. If in addition to the suspicion of malignancy, molecular tests are positive, you can consider doing a total thyroidectomy in these patients. So as more data become available on the molecular test, the management of this category may potentially change in the future. So these are the patients who are candidate for surgery, and extent of surgery will be based on the molecular test. So how do you treat malignant nodules? Malignant nodules include papillary cancer, follicular cancer, Hardel cell cancer, medullary thyroid carcinomas. Some may be lymphomas or anaplastic cancer, and some may be even metastatic. So surgery is generally recommended for these patients. However, some patient having a small nodule less than 1 centimeter, patient having very high risk surgical patient has very short life expectancy, and patient has got other surgical and medical issues. These are the selected group of patient where even in the diagnosis of malignant nodule, you may continue to observe the patient, keep on follow-up. And if it is a metastasis in thyroid gland, the further investigation to find the primary should be the priority rather than doing a surgery for the thyroid metastatic lesion. This is another area of nodule where ultrasound and FNA is non-diagnostic. So this can be because of a cytology being inadequate specimen. If no or scant follicular tissue is obtained, the absence of malignancy does not mean a negative biopsy in these patients. In such cases, FNA should be repeated under ultrasound guidance. If the results are still non-diagnostic, depending on the suspicion pattern on sonography, clinical risk factors, and growth of the nodule during active surveillance, one can consider doing a core-nodule biopsy, a close observation, or diagnosed surgical excision. So, patient having a non-diagnostic and on follow-up, if the patient has got a persistence of this nodule and there is some increase and suspicious features of sonography, these options are admissible, either going for a core-nodule biopsy or continued observation and regular USG, or you can consider doing a surgical excision of the particular node. So how to manage a thyroid nodule in pregnancy? Evaluation in pregnancy should be done in the same way as one would do in non-pregnant state, except in pregnancy, we will not consider doing a scintigraphy. So patient is suppressed TSH, persistent in the first trimester. Further evaluation is delayed after pregnancy and sexual lactation because this radiological scan cannot be done in pregnancy and lactation period. And radiological scan should be done once the pregnancy is over. Pregnancy patient having a nodule with FNA suggesting PTC. If it is diagnosed early in pregnancy, then if it grows substantially, 20% growth in at least 2-dimensional fitting growth in volume in new suspicious pattern, and patient got suspicious lymph node being present, we should consider surgery during the second trimester of pregnancy. If this is diagnosed in the later half of the pregnancy or diagnosed early in the pregnancy and remains stable by mid-gestation, we can delay the surgery till the delivery is over. And during pregnancy, consider admission of levothyroxine therapy to keep TSH in the range of 0.1 to 1. So if you are not considering surgery during pregnancy, you can suppress TSH by giving the patient L-thyroxine therapy. So if you go by summarizing this thyroid nodule management, the basic thing is guided by your TSH level. If TSH level is low, we go for a reticular scan. If it is a cold nodule, evaluation similar to solid nodule. That means cold nodule are suspicious, although there is only 15 to 20% chance of malignancy in cold nodule. If it is a hot nodule, that means a hyperfunctioning nodule, you can consider doing a medication or radionuclide therapy or surgery. On the other side, if the patient has got normal or high TSH, if the nodule is less than 1 centimeter or purely cystic, we can keep on the patient on follow-up. As we have discussed that this patient should undergo regular USG and FNA evaluation as per ATA guideline. Lesion is more than 1 centimeter and ultrasound is indeterminate risk. So again, you may have groups of patients on doing a FNA. So if it's a benign, patient should be under follow-up. If it is a indeterminate group, you can go for molecular testing and keep the patient under follow-up. Or molecular testing suggestive of malignancy, patient will go for surgery. And patient highly suspicious for malignancy, you can do a molecular test and decide for surgery or observation. Patient having a malignant lesion, the treatment of choice is going for surgery. So in conclusion, thyroid nodules are common clinical entity. On an average, this carry a risk of 4 to 6.5% risk. The initial evaluation should be by quadruple assessment with history, clinical examination, a serum TSH assessment, ultrasound, and FNA. And the newer modality of molecular testing being added to this quadruple assessment. Nodules with diameter less than 1 centimeter, with some exception, require no FNA and can be observed with a close follow-up and ultrasound. Patients with benign nodules are usually followed without surgery. Molecular tests can be used for further evaluating FNA spirits with cytology of follicular neoplasm, follicular lesion, ativa undiagnosed events. Patient with cytology suggesting cancer should be referred for surgery. The high prevalence and increasing diagnosis of incidental thyroid nodules require clinicians to adopt a clinical evidence-based approach to evaluate, risk stratify, and provide appropriate treatment. As more evidence becomes available, active surveillance may become possible for selected cases of even thyroid cancer patients. As we summarize that, patient having a high risk for surgery, patient having other concomitant disease which hampers outcome. In that case, even with a malignancy and less than 1 centimeter, patient can be observed. Thank you. Any question in the chat box?
Sample for
you see, sample for molecular testing. This is done on the FNA spirit. This molecular testing is now done in the FNA spirit itself.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, nodules less than 1 centimeter. What are the you told that there are some exceptions?
Yeah.
To go for FNAC. So, what are the exceptions?
You see, we have considered 5 high risk US features. If we have the nodule is less than 1 centimeter, but there are some high risk features in ultrasonography, maybe risk features of 2 or 3. In that case, you should consider doing FNA even with a nodule less than 1 centimeter. That means high risk features are present an ultrasound.
Thank you, sir. Sir, if follicular neoplasm is coming on FNAC, we can decide it's follicular adenoma or carcinoma. Then what should
I have talked about that. I've talked, they see, previously, when the report came as follicular neoplasm, the standard of care was doing surgery. Okay, because it's not possible to differentiate follicular neoplasm and adenoma and carcinoma. Okay, but with advent of the molecular testing, it said that if you do a molecular testing in this group of patients, and if the test suggests it's a benign etiology, even for a follicular neoplasm, you can continue to observe the patient with regular follow-up, with clinical examination, ultrasound. If it is a molecular test pointing towards a malignant lesion, in that case, you should consider early surgery. So, follicular neoplasm, not specified as a almost all features of malignancy, you can observe with molecular testing.
Sir, if molecular testing is not available,
Then surgery, we already said that. If
sir,
molecular testing is not available, the standard of care was doing surgery. In that case, if it is a solitary nodule involving one lobe, it was a lobectomy. And lobectomy report, it came back as follicular adenoma. The other lobe need not be touched. If the report came back as a carcinoma in this nodule, one can consider doing a completion thyroidectomy, because in that case, doing a follow-up is easier.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So from January, we will have a classes from 8 o'clock in the morning. Is it all right, or you like to continue in the same time?
No problem, sir.
Okay. So we'll have classes from 8 from January. Thank you very much. Thank you.